People of faith have got to start standing together. I don't know how people can feel so threatened by faith. I really don't. I hate to tell you. When we need help, we all call to the same guy. You can put your hands over your ears and say, la, 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 but you know what? It's not going to change reality. There are things that need to be said. Things that need to be said. One of them is, we really been it. You know what I'm saying? We should call him. He's doing what I do every day. He's like, they don't call me. They don't call me. Here's some other things that have to be said, and nobody wants to say them. But they have to be said. Nobody wants to hear them. First one, we're broke. We can't keep spending. We're broke. Game over. Two, no one's going to ride in to save you. No one. There's no hero. It's going to be you in the end. You see the scene in Pakistan? People were waiting in line for AIDS from floods, and they were complaining, how come the AIDS not here? Look, when America is gone, who's going to save the people in Pakistan? See, we got to change this one because we're the ones that always ride in to save people. The third one is, we're not an empire. People think we are, but we're not. Empires don't take crap from other countries. France, we would have obliterated a long time ago. We're not an empire. But we may be Rome, because we are not immune from suffering the same fate as they did. You know, they were amazing as well. They brought innovations such as the state-of-the-art construction abilities. They were able to build enormous, enormous bridges over the Rhine and the Danube. They finished a bridge over the Rhine in less than 10 days. Look at that. You think we could do that? They didn't have unions back then. Trick question. They created a road system so sophisticated that road travel times didn't decrease until the invention of the steam engine during the 19th century. And, of course, the Colosseum, which I think this would have been cool. You know, they filled this with water, they think, and they could reenact naval battles. I mean, these people were, okay, they did feed people to the lions, but that's a different story. They created massive aqueducts. They brought us a calendar with a leap year. This was an empire. The world emulated these things, and we still use a lot of these things today. But when they went away, they still went away. Do you think anybody might have said, oh, we're Rome, we'll never... And they ended, which was a good thing, because remember the lions. If we end, what is it the rest of the world takes from us? What else have we left? McDonald's? Coke? What is it? It's one thing that the world should take from us, but I don't know if anybody has it anymore. And it's the fighting spirit. It's American ingenuity. It's the never say never attitude. Let me ask you this, America. What's over the horizon? Over the horizon, as you look and stop looking at today, Americans were always about becoming and not being. Now we only care about being. What's over the horizon? What are we becoming? Are we going to become more free or less free on the road that we're on? Our laws, we have more laws based on the Constitution or more laws not based on the Constitution coming our way? Are we going to have more tolerance or just more political correctness? See, these are the questions that people need to ask. But we're being told to unite. We got to unite. We got to unite. You got to unite. On what? Unite on what? Just for the purpose of uniting? What do we stand for anymore? Do you know why people hate us around the world? Because we don't stand for anything. Do you think we actually... How many of our kids even know this? We have forgotten our principles. That's what we need to unite on, our principles. We need to discover them again and then live them every day. And it starts with you and it starts with me. You know what made us great? Living by principles. We've never been perfect. No one is. Those principles is what made us stand up and lead the way. Getting away from those principles is what makes us stumble in the bad times. Find your principles, stand by them, and unite with other people that stand by their principles. Back in a minute. Our time together may be interrupted temporarily because the Blagojevich verdict, any minute now. Any minute. I can't wait. By the way, if it comes back and he's not guilty, my head may explode. I'm just saying, It could get graphic. In 1780, John Adams wrote that we should be a government of laws and not of men. You think John Adams would be happy with what he sees today? I can't wait to see what he sees in Chicago in a few minutes. It practically takes an act of God to get people like Charlie Rangel, Maxine Waters, Blagojevich booted out of office. Whenever a politician does get busted today, the tired, oh, he served his nation for so many years, excuse is trotted out and justice is not served. They get a pass. Government also seems to favor or punish certain types of companies based on what they do or do not do. Let's look at one example. Barclays Bank. Yeah, they just caught facilitating payments to countries facing government sanctions between 1995 and 2006. And I guess it's another thing we can blame on George W. Bush. Now, what does that mean? That means they helped send payments over to countries that are our enemies. Let's see which they are. Let's see. There's Cuba, friend or foe. There is Iran, friend or foe. There's the Sudan, not really good. There's Libya, and then there's Burma, which somewhere around here. What do they all have in common? Enemy, 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 and Burma. These were not honest mistakes or paperwork mix-ups. No. The court documents on Barclays Bank, quote, say that they knowingly and willingly facilitated U.S. dollar transactions to dirtbag countries. So wait a minute. They knew what they were doing, and they weren't supposed to do it, and they're sending it to our enemies. What was the penalty? Are they all in jail? Barclays was fined almost $300 million. Whoa, that had to hurt. Yeah, unless you saw the size of their wallet. When you look at the size of their wallet, it's $14.7 billion in profits just last year. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. A government that does all they can to confiscate the profits of those big evil oil companies, oh, I hate them, they're so evil. Why aren't they fighting to do more here? Congress didn't shrug their shoulders after BP spilled the oil. Say, oh, well, the law says we can only charge them up to $75 million for the cleanup. No, they sprung into action like superheroes. How come no one takes a second look at this bank to see if this cap can be lifted? Why, I wonder? All of a sudden, adhering to the letter of the law is the right thing to do for these people. That is weird. You'd think with this administration, the entire executive class of Barclays would be arrested. All of them would be out in cuffs. I told you those big banks are evil. Let me ask you this. If you were Fred Barclay and you were loaning money and pretty much laundering money to our enemies, do you think, if you're a member of the Tea Party, Eric Holder and Elena Kagan would just be like, whatever, hey, it was an honest mistake. Okay, so they were shredding documents too. Hey, it happens to all of us. No, I think they'd swoop down on ropes from helicopters and declare your room a battlefield. Yeah, you'd never be heard from again. This fine was 2% of a single year's profits. This wasn't a punishment. It was a transaction fee. A nation based on men and not laws cannot stand. Right now, we are completely 180 degrees of where John Adams hoped we would be. So how do we get people to do this and turn around? How? How do we get people to reverse that line of thinking? I think I have a little bit of a solution. You may not like it. Blago won't like it. More on that. And maybe the not guilty, oops, did I say that out loud? Maybe that verdict on Blagojevich. Next. not find him guilty. We're over here. This friend of mine over here, Mark, he's having his birthday today. I brought cupcakes for Mark. And, of course, Marcus Luttrell and his lovely girlfriend. Anyway, we're sitting here, and I said, Mark, we got to break out the cupcakes. They just got a dirt bag. They just got him. So we're having cupcakes here. That one's for you. Congratulations. All right. Let's get back to business here. I got a lot of people who wrote in. Come on, go to the cupcake cam. Take 4. Cupcake cam. Where's the cupcake? You can't even see the cupcake. That thing eats them fast. Okay. Last night, people watched the show, and I got some mail. And I want to talk to you about it. Because people call, hey, Glenn Beck, why are you turning to God? You're giving up. What? What are you talking about? Turning to God is a bad thing? That thought process flies in the face of everything this country has always been about. Are we not? Let's see if I have any money on me. Yes, there it is. One nation under God. Right there. And that was it. In God we trust. Right there on the back of our money. We were founded on the notion of God. To me, the mail that I got last night, people saying, you're turning to God. We should be turning to God as our first resort, not our last resort. I mean, I can't tell you how many people were complaining to me, Glenn, it's not time for that. It's not time. It's not time, really? Our founders certainly turned to them long before now. They turned at the very beginning. Prayer is not a sign of throwing in the towel and saying, okay, well, I'll let you do it this time. You know, you don't lay there in bed and say, okay, you let me know. I'm going to take a nap when things are straightened out. That's not what that is. You pray as if everything depends on God, but you act as if everything depends on you. This is more evidence that our faith has been perverted and corrupted. Let me tell you something. There is nothing Americans cannot do. We are the people that changed the world. We brought hope and liberty to a planet that has never seen those things, never had experienced liberty before. That was us. That was us. Don't you know who we are? We're the ones who always arrive on the scene of tragedies everywhere else in the world first. We're the ones. Oh, they hate us until they have a problem, and then we're the ones. They're like, oh, America, we love you so much. You know, back in the 1970s, President Ronald Reagan reminded us, I love that guy, when we were at one of our lowest points as a nation, right after the mess in Vietnam, just a few examples of what America and Americans had accomplished. I read this speech, I think it was from 1975. I read this speech the other night. Wow. I think we need a reminder again on who we really are. Next.